Andrew Wiggins is a prime example of how hype ruins the perception of a player. His high school highlights at the time were must-see TV, and you had people from all over clamoring for him to be an all-time great, comparing him to McGrady and LeBron and Kobe, and you even had Kobe Bean Bryant himself comparing him to a 17-year-old version of himself. And you had people at that point giving him nicknames like Maple Jordan. With all these expectations thrown at the young man's shoulders, he was picked first overall in the 2014 draft, and unfortunately, he failed to live up to much of their promises. The problem here isn't that he was a bad player. I would say that looking back at his career thus far, he was a decent player. Now, his career numbers does leave you wanting more, as he did struggle to shoot the ball throughout his time in Minnesota, and he fell short when it came to playmaking and the hustle plays that you typically want to see out of a player as good as Wiggins. Now, there are videos out there that were made in 2018, 2019, talking about how his first couple of years of his career were very much a bust and how Wiggins himself was a bust, and they compared him to similar players that were in a starting role, but that didn't have the same level of expectations that were attached to Wiggins. And although he did fail to show why he was worthy of that max contract he was given at the time, he was still a better all-around player than the guys like Jeremy Lamb and Bogdan Bogdanovic that people like to compare him to. So in my opinion, he wasn't a bust by any means, but really Wiggins wasn't the player that people wanted him to be. And because of that, his time in Minnesota was marred with a bevy of criticisms, ranging from his low motor to his inefficient scoring. And his time with Jimmy Butler made things that much worse for him, as it painted an even bigger picture of what people said was him having a low work ethic. I think it was rather unfair for him to get that label, and that the toxicity of Butler and the losing culture of Minnesota gave him little reason to even stay engaged in the first place. Now, I will say something definitely did change in Wiggins' game after Ryan Saunders assumed the role as head coach. He helped shape Wiggins to be a more efficient scorer by prioritizing more on free-point shooting and driving into the paint rather than inefficiently shooting from the mid-range. And those shots, man, he loved those shots, but they just weren't going in. Now, this is where we come into him being traded to the Warriors, and at the time, people were saying that the Warriors lost the trade. Now, in the 12 games that he played before the shutdown of 2020, he quickly showed why he belonged. With Kerr having seen enough in those games, it was clearly evident that Wiggins had huge potentials on the defensive end, and at the time, this wasn't an opinion that was shared by many. But fast forward to today, we just saw a season where Wiggins' defense has elevated to almost elite levels, being one of the best on-ball defenders in the league last season, and he was able to get guys like DeMar DeRozan, Bradley Beal, LeBron James, and that playing game, Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, and Brandon Ingram shooting below their usual averages when facing against him. And he averaged an impressive one block a game during that season, which was the third time in his career he did so, and shy of one steals a game as well. His raw athleticism also makes him that much more of a versatile defender, where his quickness allows him to go around picks to stay on guys, and he even gets around guys even when he gets beat. Unlike what many claim, Wiggins is a very durable player, having only missed one game last season to rest for a more important upcoming game, and the most number of games he missed in a season is 9 games, mostly due to a quad injury. And now, if that wasn't enough, he was the clear best player during those 3 Olympic qualifying games he played for Team Canada, averaging over 22 points a game while shooting 55% from the field overall and 42% from deep. And man, if you saw that game against the Czech Republic, that was my favorite game out of all the games internationally this year, as it gave us a glimpse of Wiggins being the first option as a more improved, more refined player on both ends. And he was so clutch, it made me scream like a baby. They really should have given the ball more to him during that overtime, though. All in all, Canada should be very proud of how far Wiggins has come. At only 26 years old, he already is the first Canadian-born player to pass the 10,000 points mark. Now, mind you, Steve Nash isn't Canadian-born. He was born in Johannesburg. And even if he was, he has over 17,000 points in 18 seasons. And Wiggins is on pace to surpass that when he reaches his 12th season. Now, the Warriors I think did win that trade, getting in return a durable player that has more room to grow, and a first round pick that they used to pick James Wiseman. Now Wiggins has a chance to be part of something special next season. He looks to provide a great boost to the second unit, with Jordan Poole and Toscano Anderson being very complementary players. And he will fill a very promising role as a third option in what could be a championship contending team when you add in a healthy Klay Thompson and then a transcending all-time offensive threat in Stephen Curry, who just came out of a historic season last year. If you want to know what I mean by that, check out this video I made where I show you how elite that season was. It rivals that of the legendary 2016 season where we saw him being voted unanimously as MVP. I hope to see you there and have a great day.